Episode number 26 in the PJ and Pals podcast is here, and this episode, very, very special episode. We've got probably one of the number one fans, the biggest supporter of the podcast, and he was the best man in my wedding, my oldest friend. We became friends at 11 years old. My best pal, Nick. He's joining me on the podcast today remotely. He is in Toronto, and we've been trying to do this for a while. He finally got the capability of getting himself a microphone so we could record it via Zoom. And so we finally do a podcast together. We talk about music. We talk about Avengers Infinity War, or Endgame, Avengers Endgame. We only talk a little bit about that. There are some spoilers at the beginning, but nothing too drastic. We don't say about anybody dying or anything like that. We don't go too far into the movie. Nick has a film studies background, so I ask him his take on it. And then we also talk about what it's like now that he just hit 30. I'm going to be hitting 30 soon. If there's anything we'd like to accomplish in the years to come, like kind of like a midlife crisis, but not as weird. Thank you for listening. This is episode number 26 of the PJ and Pals podcast with Nick. Start the recording again. So you ran out and bought a new microphone for this.
I did.
Good.
I did. I had some trouble this morning. I tried setting up this like call center microphone that Leslie had for work.
Like a Backstreet Boys microphone sort of thing?
Yeah, like I call it like a Britney Spears type mic.
Yeah.
And yeah. I downloaded the software and I'm pretty sure it's installed, but I couldn't figure out how to use it. So I just buy one that plugs in and then I'll go for it.
Off we go. Sweet. Uh-oh. Yeah. I just touched something. Can you still see me okay?
Yep, I'm good.
All right. I think I screwed up something on my computer. I have Sam's old Mac, and then as soon as I got it, I started downloading a bunch of shit. And nothing erotic. It's all clean stuff, but it still fucked up the computer so bad.
Oh, yeah, like downloading torrents and stuff?
Yeah. Like a lot of jiu-jitsu torrents and movies, TV shows, stuff like that. Yeah. Now the computer's not working well. Oh, 1 second. Well, happy Mother's Day to you.
Yeah.
You're going over to Leslie's? Oh my God.
Computer. Yeah. So you were up till 2 last night and then had to drive home? You were working?
So I was scheduled to DJ till 2. And then, so I asked for a later start yesterday, like, cause usually we start either at 3 or 7, right? So if we're doing the ceremony and, like your DJ at your wedding probably you probably paid him from 7 o'clock on, right?
Yeah.
And, oh, there we go. I can see again. Yeah. So 7 o'clock on. So you didn't pay for the ceremony and all that stuff. Or my wedding, we had him at the ceremony for our walkout song and all that stuff. And, so that's an extra couple $100 or so. So usually when I do that, like you got to be there at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then you're there till 1 o'clock at night, 1:30. So I asked for a later start because of Comic-Con. So I was like, I'll start at 7 o'clock, like whatever, it'll be fine, right? I'll go home in between Comic-Con, relax for a bit. And then he's like, yeah, so I gave you an even later start, 8 o'clock. I'm like, sweet, but it goes till 2. I'm like, fuck. And he's like, and it's 45 minutes away. And I was like, oh my God. So like we finished a little early at 1:20 because the bus was leaving at 1:30. So even though I was getting paid till 2, I just I'm not going to stay there for a half hour if nobody's there. Because out in the middle of the woods.
Sure.
You know the ski lodge Camp Fortune?
Not really, but you said it was in Gatineau, right?
Yeah. So it's about 30 minutes away from downtown. Anyways, so yeah, by the time I got home, it was 2:45, and then I just watched some TV for a bit, and yeah.
Yeah, and then you were up early with the dogs this morning, you said?
Yeah, they got me up at 8.
Damn.
Yeah, I'll take a nap.
I thought I had more time to buy a mic, and then we were out doing errands, and Leslie said we'd be doing some quick errands, and then that turned into like 2.5 hours. So.
It's never quick. Yeah, it's a lie. Yeah, you never go out anywhere and be like, we went grocery shopping and we're like, okay, well, let's get a couple things for the next couple days. It was still $100. It's never just a little. Like it's always full blown.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you've been trying to come on. We've been trying to get you on the podcast for a while now. because it's the PJ and Pals podcast, and you're my best pal, best man
That's
at my
right.
wedding. I was the best pal in your wedding.
Yep.
That's the theme. So the guest is
Best pal.
pal.
We should have
Yeah,
like made yeah, we should have made like jackets or something that said best pals.
best pal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and or sister of the pal. No, that wouldn't work. It was Julia.
No.
Yeah, wouldn't
Yeah.
work.
What
Uh, but
we'll
yeah,
workshop it.
yeah, for the next wedding, right? Yeah, but so you
So
saw.
what
Let's get right into Endgame because
all right.
I've been waiting for you to see it for so long. Because me and you disagree about everything when it comes to movies and
Yeah. I feel
hockey
like I'm the
jerseys.
last person on earth to see Endgame, by the way. Like I feel like because this is the third weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
third
Yeah,
weekend.
I kind of feel like I'm the last person because in our group, I think everybody's seen it.
Eric
I
said he
want
hadn't seen it.
everybody's seen it. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but he's got a
Uh,
busy life. He's got like 2 jobs and stuff.
yeah.
So do I, but yeah,
Um, yeah, yeah. So I saw it. I actually saw it last night in IMAX. I liked it. I thought it was
yeah.
great. Good way to wrap up the series. Should we like spoiler alert before we?
I do. You
Are
know
we gonna
me.
get into it or just wanna?
Yeah, well, we're gonna because I've already done 2 episodes where we talk about Endgame, so I might as well make it a third. And like I just say, spoiler alert at the beginning of the episode. And again,
Oh
like you're
yeah,
right,
right.
most people have listened to it, and yeah, and if you haven't watched Endgame, then you're missing out on life.
Yeah.
But you,
Well, yeah.
so you have a different view on the movies because like I went and saw it with Sam, who's seen all 22 movies. I went and saw it with Fez, he's seen all 22 movies, and Matt, and like so these guys I talked to, we've been following the series for 10 years. You haven't.
No, although I haven't counted like literally counted all the movies, but I'm pretty sure I've seen at least I would say like 18, 19 out of 22.
So you're pretty close, yeah.
I never saw Doctor Strange,
That's okay.
and I never got around to seeing. And this is bad because like I knew during Endgame that there were some things that I was missing,
Yeah.
so I never saw um, Ant-Man 2.
Yeah.
Never
And
saw Ant-Man 2.
that's the whole point of the time traveling, right? Like because they go into
Yeah,
like the whole
and
quantum realm thing. Yeah.
yeah, with the quantum realm, and when he like arrives out of the back of that truck, right? I'm like, oh, it probably ended with him going into the quantum realm, and then he exits it in this movie. And so now I'm like, okay, I get that. I get that now.
Yeah.
I didn't get it during the movie, but
So yeah, spoiler. What happens in the movie at the very end? Because it's all about them going into the quantum realm and saving the Wasp's mom and Michelle Pfeiffer. Is that her name or
I think so.
actress name?
Yeah, yeah,
Anyways,
it is.
and so then Paul Rudd goes back into the quantum realms, and they're talking about it, and she's like, "Hey, watch out for those time pockets," and then like looks at the screen, and then gets dusted, right? So that's why it was kind of important because that's why he was stuck in there, and then the rat had to let him out because everyone was dusted. But
Mhm.
yeah, so I wanted your opinion on it for the podcast because like we're talking about it, but we're nerds and we don't care if the movies are good or not. Like literally, our most people's favorite parts when Captain America gets the hammer. But you actually studied film. You're one of the only people I know in this world that watches movies in the Academy Awards. And so like I want to get your point on it as like a movie connoisseur was the
Sure,
fancy word.
sure. Well, like, so when I was in school, like we had all this film theory that we studied, and like a lot of it, and you'd attest to this, like, and I've been listening to the podcast about your experience in school and stuff, and like you forget half the stuff or more than half the stuff that you learn in school. Then
Yeah.
you get into the real world, and it's like day to day. So a lot of the actual theory stuff I don't really remember, but I kind of judge movies based on the experience. Like for movies like this, I kind of judge it on the experience in the theater. Am I like super into it in the theater? Like I don't really care too much about the movies, like the past, movies that led up to this, or
Mhm.
like the continuity. I was just like, am I entertained? Is this like a good movie start to finish? And yeah, this was like 3 hours of jam-packed stuff. Like it was pretty. It was a good way to wrap up all the storylines. And I think all the major characters had good screen time, like awesome scenes. Um, and it was pretty funny too. Like that's the thing. It's like
Yeah.
I go to these movies because they're like blockbuster big movies. I see them on the big screen, and yeah, if they're funny,
Yeah.
if they're funny and action packed, That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's funny that Chris Helmsworth's like the funniest one now because like before, like if you're watching a movie with Chris Pratt, it's gonna be funny, or Robert Downey Jr., it's gonna have that sarcasm. But Chris Helmsworth, he up until the third Thor movie, he was always like a serious actor, but or his character was serious. Like there's a few jokes here and there in the movies. Like the first two Thor movies had Kat Dennison in it, that girl from Two Broke Girls. So she
Oh
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
she was the comic relief. I don't know if you saw those two movies, but the
Mhm.
first two Thor
Yeah.
movies weren't the greatest.
Mhm.
And he was saying like after doing those and doing the first Avengers and Age of Ultron, he was super bored with the role and wanted to leave the role, even though it's like one of the biggest roles ever. You're Thor. You're literally the god of thunder. Like, why would you want to leave? But he was bored with it. And so he had that conversation with the Russo brothers and then, or sorry, Kevin Feige, who's in charge of the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe. And yeah, so they just started making him funny. And then they made him fat, which like everyone I know saw that part and they're like, oh, this is just a cheap kind of like make us laugh quickly. And then he's going to be skinny again in 10 minutes. But they
Yeah.
played it out and they did it really well,
They
I
did.
thought.
I was really surprised by that. I thought he would like have a montage where he was getting into shape halfway through, right? And then
Yeah.
by the end battle scene, he'd be ripped again.
Yeah.
I did not expect it to go from him having the pot belly. But it was good. And then obviously at the end, he just wants to be that guy who doesn't have all these responsibilities. So I guess he's still fat forever now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I wonder how long they're going to
It's
do
fat
that
Thor.
for. Because because now what they're going to do, there's not going to be any more Thor movies, but he's going to be part of Guardians, right? The next Guardians movie. Um, they're, they're like, I don't know if you knew much about that, but they fired the guy who made the first two. Then he went to DC and he was going to do a movie there. And now Disney was like, actually, you can come back. Your tweets weren't that bad. So, which is kind of like happening a lot now. Like people are getting mad at people, but then kind of forgiving them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now he's doing that's going to start filming next year, and he's going to be Thor with Guardians of the Galaxy, which is going to be kind of fun. Did you see the Guardians movies?
Yeah, I did. I love the Guardians movies because,
Yeah.
again, those were like, I went in with no prior knowledge of the Guardians. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't read the comics. I was like, I guess there's a raccoon in this one. I had no
Yeah.
idea. And yeah, they were super
I guess
entertaining.
there's a raccoon in this one.
I mean, and that was one of the funniest lines in Endgame. What was it? It was Scarlett Johansson was like upset, and she was like, what was it? Captain America was consoling her, and then she was like, well, at the end of the day, this is all really weird. I'm getting emails from a raccoon.
Yeah, that was probably one of the best lines. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Guardians movie, the first one was interesting because like I know you don't read the comics a lot, but the comics were never successful. The Guardians comics, they always be out for 2 years and then get canceled. And then come out with another one, 2 years, get canceled. So when they started doing a movie, people were kind of like, it was the time when Marvel was like, hey, we've got something going here. People are liking these movies. Let's just rip out as much as we can. Ant-Man and Doctor Strange, so like characters that you'd never think you would see in a movie are now a character. And then they did Guardians, and the cast helped that a lot. That girl from the second one, Mantis, she was at Ottawa Comic Con yesterday, but not a
Oh
big,
yeah.
not a big line to meet her. I'm surprised because she's in one of the highest grossing movies of all time. Nobody cared to meet her, but
Huh, weird. I wanted to ask you about that. What was the line like for Amy Jo Johnson, and what did you do?
I didn't do much. Because I had this feeling. It's like, so Amy Jo Johnson, right? Like Kimberly Hart. We all grew up watching
Yeah,
Power
set it up.
Rangers. We all love her, right? Like I'm not the only one who had a crush on her. Like she was our what's that guy from Saved by the Bell? That rip guy, not George
Oh,
Lopez. AC
Slater.
Slater.
AC
Yeah,
Slater.
whatever his name is in real life. Like Kimberly Hart was our AC Slater. I think that's the way I like, when I posted on Facebook, everyone was like my first crush, whatever. Anyways. So, I actually like the times before I've gotten a photo op with people, I've gotten the autograph first and then the photo op. So the way they do the photo ops at these things, one, they're not cheap. And, it was like $70, but I was like,
Ooh.
when am I going to do this again? Like I'm going to meet her one time in my life, just pay to meet her. And but what they do is like you get in line and it's go go go, like there's no saying hi, there's nothing, right? I'm sandwiched between the weirdest guys in the whole world. So I'm like, perfect. Like, this is just going to be like, like they're going to make a fool of themselves. I'm going to come up and I'll look cool. Not the case. Cause like, so I'm standing there and my palms are drenched in sweat and she's like waving me on like, okay, come on. And like, I go up and like, I don't even put my arm around her back. Like I hover it, like shaking.
Oh
She
no,
like,
the hover hand.
yeah, she puts her hand on my shoulder. I'm like, and she's like, awesome, thanks. Cause I just gave her like $70 of my money. Well, not her, but the Comic-Con or whatever. Right. And I'm like, thanks for coming. She's like, oh, this
Like
cute
you're
little,
hosting her
yeah, like thanks, this
somehow.
cute little retarded guy wearing a Spider-Man jersey just like came up.
Wait, don't you have Power Ranger stuff? Didn't you have like a Power Rangers like hoodie or something at one
I had
point?
a T-shirt at one point, and I remember like I think I bought it like it was a small when I bought it. I don't fit in smalls anymore. I'm getting close to that large size. Old 29 hasn't been great to PJ.
Oh, I thought you were gonna be too jacked now, but it's the
No,
opposite.
no, it's not good weight. Uh, yeah, so it was like a small because it was like and I had a Power Rangers Halloween costume, but I wasn't gonna wear that because that's a
Well, so
unitard.
did I, but I think it was like when I was 7. So,
Yeah,
you know.
but still fitting it though.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Short joke. Gotta get one of those in.
you were totally the Blue Ranger, weren't you?
Mm, no, I think I was the Black Ranger.
Oh,
Yeah. I
cool.
don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was the only one that was left. I don't know.
Yeah, I Blue was my favorite, but last year I met two of them, the
Hmm.
Red Ranger and the Green Ranger, Jason David Frank. And the Red Ranger was like the second Red Ranger. He wasn't cool. Like he was trying to sell us shit and like all this crap. And he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He actually trains with the guy from Boondock Saints. Sean Patrick Flannery. Do you ever see the Boondock Saints?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. And so I was
Patrick.
like trying to talk to him about that, like, because like a common interest. Nobody was in line to meet him. And he was just trying to sell us like outrageously expensive gold coins. I was like, I'm okay.
Mhm.
I know I spent my money on some stupid shit, but $100 gold coin isn't for me. And then the other Green Ranger was just like the coolest guy in the world. So she was kind of like in between. Like she was kind of a little awkward. And like I
Mhm.
imagine she's dealt with so many people. And think of how many people come up to her going like, "Oh, you're my first crush," like sort of thing. Like it's got to
Yeah,
be weird. Um, but yeah, so I got a signature from her, and yeah, whatever.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a cool
I
experience.
mean, yeah, I mean, it was a cool post for you to put up on Instagram and be like, idolize or not idolize. What was the term you used? Was it your first crush or whatever?
Yeah, hashtag first crush. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I said something about me trying not to make myself a fool, but I
yeah.
was trying to read the post, but yeah, 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 I wasn't too bad. But the Comic Con was cool. Like me and Sam have gone for this is our 5th year in a row,
Mhm.
and every year we get so excited. And this year we were kind of like there, and we are like, oh, nothing's changed. And like the guests this year aren't even that great. Like a lot of them canceled. Like Draco Malfoy was supposed to be there. He canceled. One of the girls from House
Oh, really?
canceled. She was in How I Met Your Mother as well. Jennifer Morrison, I think is her name. She
Mhm.
canceled. So it just kind of sucked, like, and it was like the same vendor selling the same shit, overpriced. Like there was a comic book store selling books and had a big sign that said 40% off, and they're from Montreal. So I like grabbed one, and he told me the price. I was like, well, that's not 40% off. He's like, oh no, it's 40% off in our store in Montreal. And take
Oh,
down the sign. Like,
yeah,
I'm not gonna pay more at a convention for a comic book I can buy on Amazon, right? Like,
exactly.
but
Yeah, there's lots of like pop-up markets and shops and things like that here in Toronto, and I find they're all, a lot of them end up selling the same stuff at the end of the day. Like like one of them is the big Christmas market down in the Distillery District. Like it's a huge tourist destination around Christmas time, but every year we go and it's the same crafts, the same ornaments, the same like hot chocolate and whatever, and so it's just kind of like we're kind of done with that type of market.
mhm.
But what we do these days is we go to record sales
Yeah.
because like every year for Record Store Day, there's new prints.
Yeah.
at least you'd know that when you go to this record sale, there's going to be new stuff.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Record Store Day, like the actual like day where bands actually put out these special editions, I imagine those type of things would be you go and you see the same stuff and it's overpriced. And so
Yeah. Yeah. So like we were kind of there and like this is kind of lame. Like, so we're talking about next year, you know, usually it's our favorite thing going during that weekend. But like maybe next year we'll just we won't go unless there's a cool guest we need to meet, right? Like
well, that's the thing is the guests. The guests are the big gets, and especially for you. You know so much about these franchises and stuff, and
mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's probably people that Sam would want to see too.
Yeah, like she like, you know, she'd like to meet like a couple of people from Harry Potter or so. Like in Montreal, the Weasley twins are there, and she would like to meet them. But we're in a wedding that weekend, so we're not going to go. And the creator of Ninja Turtles is going there as well. But I don't know if I'll ever need to meet him again. Like I interviewed him on the radio, got a bunch of shit signed. Like, do I need to meet you again in another setting? Like not a setting that's not going to be as cool as talking to you on the radio. Like,
right?
I don't think so. But anyways, let's move on. All right, so for my 30th birthday, actually, is this a good segue? Me and Sam, she asked me what I wanted to do. The birthday weekend, obviously, I'm not going because it's your sister's wedding, and I'm gladly going to be a part of it. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Good, I'm glad.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, I mean, I'm a little nervous because like sometimes I'll DJ and there'll be someone there, and I'll be like, okay, like, are they going to think I'm a good DJ? I'm a bad DJ? Because like I can mix songs. Sometimes when you mix songs, it sounds really good. Sometimes it doesn't sound so great. You're just like, there's just two songs don't work out. Obviously, you got a beat match and all that stuff, but just sometimes you think it might work. It's about finding like the good section, the mix. But also like when you do weddings, you got to play the same shit over and over again, right? Because that's what people like. Like they like hearing that stuff that they've heard 1,000 times. Like, you know, Get Busy by Sean Paul or, you know, Timber, like Uptown Funk. They just want to hear those. And that's cool. And like, so I've tried to do weddings where I go a little bit more obscure. Doesn't work. So like, I'm a little worried at your sister's wedding. Like if I play that stuff, people will be like, oh, this guy's just playing the cliche crap. Or they're like being like, oh, he's the shit.
Well, first of all, like I think everybody at Julia's wedding, they're not going to refer to you as this guy. You're PJ. You're there because you're a friend of ours.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're like, who's this guy? What's his deal? Why?
Yeah.
We're just like, hey man.
Yeah. What's up? Yeah. Yeah. And like again, like I always play requests and stuff like that. So like, I know her boyfriend like already wants Mr. Brightside, which like last night, like sometimes I'll play Mr. Brightside and it'll be just a bomb, like a killer. Like everyone loves it. Last night I played it because they asked for Rage Against the Machine, right? Like, and I was like, how do you follow Rage Against the Machine? They were dancing to country and pop all night, and then they just come up and they're like, yeah, we want like Rage Against the Machine and 9 Inch Nails. I'm like, what just happened? Like, this is not gonna be a smooth transition. I didn't have 9 Inch Nails, but I played Rage Against the Machine, and I was like, what? Maybe they'll like Mr. Brightside. Like people like singing that song, right? Play it.
Sure.
Just like it's a crazy. Immediately, if a song's on the dance floor they don't like, they peace out.
Oh, everybody, yeah.
Because it's like you're there for 4 hours dancing, right? Like at some point you're just gonna be like, okay, now I need to sit and get a drink. But yeah, Julia's fiance was saying like you're gonna have to play Mr. Brightside like 3 or 4 times. So like last night I was saying like it didn't work. Julia's wedding, it's gonna work, you know. So.
Well, if he and his buddies can guarantee to dance to it every single time, then there you go.
Yeah, I
like that song. I'll join them.
It's good. You just want like anthems, like songs that everyone knows the words to. Like, and I said, like I was like, usually when I play Mr. Brightside, I go right into All the Small Things by Blink-182, and he like loved it. He was like, yes, that's perfect. So works out.
Cool.
But anyway, so I was saying, so my 30th.
Oh yeah, 30th birthday.
We're talking about going down to New York Comic-Con. So because that's actually the weekend after Julia's wedding. So. We'll celebrate my birthday down in New York. I've never been to New York City, so it'd be interesting.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
But so I brought this up to Sam in the car today. Not like because you're our like I guess one of my closest friends that hit 30, aside from Alex and Eric. Alex doesn't really have his stuff together right now. We can talk about that because I guarantee he's not listening. But I was saying to Sam, like, what's something you want to do when you're 30, like between 35, like a skill you want to learn? Like, I know it's cliche and cheesy, and it's not like a midlife crisis. I'm not saying like, let's go buy a
Yeah.
car or a boat or something, but like, what's something you want to do once you hit 30? So as the first person that I know that's 30,
Yeah.
Ethan's turning 30 later, and Eric or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
the close group, you're the most mature one that's turned 30. Like, is there a skill that you want to
Arguably.
learn at 30 that like you've never
Yeah.
learned before, never tried to learn, something you want to do?
Right. Actually, it's really, really funny that you asked that because just this week I was thinking like, and it wasn't because I turned 30 or anything, but I've had it in my head for like for a while now, drumming.
Yeah.
Like I grew up playing drums. We played in a band.
Yeah.
I had drums at my parents' house growing up, and then I moved to Toronto where I have a 700 square foot apartment, and I can't fit them.
Yeah.
Like the last few weeks, I've just been thinking, well, okay, should I buy something? Should I do this, do that? And so I just, I live in Toronto, and there's lots of like jam spaces and stuff.
Yeah.
So I did some Googling, and there's like a drum studio like a 20-minute walk away. So I think starting soon, I'm gonna like book myself, once every couple of weeks to go in and just try to jam and get better.
That's
That's
cool.
what I'm gonna try to do.
That's awesome. I see that. So it's funny that you say that because you already have a skill of drumming.
Well, I
Me,
used
like,
to have a skill.
nah, you still
Like I,
got it. You still got it.
well, I hope so. I hope so. And that's the thing. Like if I got to go to like a private room to do this because I actually don't know what like I drum on my legs all the time, but that's
Yeah.
it. So I'm curious.
I picked up the guitar a few weeks ago, and I was like, I can still play Happy, but like everything else was like hard to play. Like I like eventually, like after an hour playing, I was able to play a little bit of Unholy Confessions again, but like
Yeah.
that's because I was looking up tabs, and that song's really fun to play on the guitar. But I guarantee you pick up the sticks, you'll be able to play Happy right away. Like,
Oh yeah, I'm sure it'll be like ingrained.
we
Yeah.
got that ingrained in our head. But like, so yeah, so I brought this up to Sam, and like, for me, like everything like I usually want to do, I just like I kind of do. Like, like I do MMA. I like doing MMA. I play a lot of hockey. I do hockey. I play video games. So I was like, what's a skill like I would like to learn, but like I don't want to be amazing at. I thought of drumming as well. So like, me, like,
Oh really? No
yeah.
way.
And like Sam was like, we're not buying a drum kit. I was like, no. Like, I don't want to buy a drum kit. Like, that's way too much money just to learn like a skill. Like, it's like I've even thought about trying to learn French just a little bit. That's actually probably be useful. But like just going to a place, doing a lesson once a week for like a year and be able to play like a simple beat, like, a little roll, and just like, just
Amazing.
to say like, I've learned how to do something, right? Like, like I don't want to be like Animal or Travis Barker on the drum set, but it was just like, wouldn't it be cool? Because I can say like, I can play the guitar, like, even though
Mhm.
I'm not like fresh in it, but like if you gave me an hour, I can get back to actually playing, right?
Yeah.
Drums, like you remember me banging on those that shit, right? Like it's not pretty. So yeah,
Oh
so I
wait,
was,
out of all the millions and millions of things that we could have said, we both said drums.
picked the same thing. Yeah, yeah,
That is really weird.
yeah.
I mean, well, okay, so if people are listening and they don't know about me, my dad teaches drums.
Yes,
So if you're willing to make the drive to Kingston,
there's a pretty far
you got
drive.
a teacher right there.
Yeah, that is a far drive.
Yeah,
Is he still at Soundworks?
I'm just saying.
Yeah, he does jazz stuff,
Uh,
right?
yeah, but he has students where he has students like of all ages,
Uh,
and like
so
it'll be kids who are like 5 years old, and he'll teach people that are like in their 60s.
oh,
And
that's cool.
yeah, and the way he started to do it, which is really cool, is he used to, do like beginner songs, and nobody really likes to learn an instrument at first, but
Yeah, it's never good. Yeah,
right, like think of guitar, like you have to learn the chords, you have to learn like some pretty like easy songs before you get to what you like.
yeah,
But he's now decided the easiest way to teach is to find a song that somebody likes, and then just go, okay, we can work with that, we can simplify it,
yeah.
and we can have you learn that song at least at a basic level,
That's
and
really
go from
cool.
there.
That's a really good idea, because like you can learn a song and like maybe I'm not like 100% accurate on this, but you can do like a song like the right tempo, the right beat, so it sounds like you're playing it. You've got that kind of like same with guitar, right? Like you can learn um I guess not the rhythm, but the sound of what you're trying to accomplish. But then there's the little added things in the song that makes them who like the guitar players who they are, right? Like the
Yeah.
fills or little stuff like that, right? The
Mhm.
creativity. Because like when we were playing, that just again example like Happy when we were in our basement, we were playing the song, but like we weren't playing it the way they could play it because they add little things or you
Yeah.
know little pitches here and there. I think the only songs that we played perfect was 3 Days Grace because they were so damn easy. Like
They're pretty easy.
they're
Yeah.
the easiest songs in the world. I can't listen to 3 Days Grace anymore. Oh, they came
No,
on.
especially that album, right?
Oh,
That first album, because we played that nonstop.
yeah. I could probably go back to that and like it, but I listened to that song The Mountain the other day in the gym. I was like, oh my God, it's painful now. It's all the same stuff. It's boring.
Yeah, I don't even know their latest stuff, to be honest. I can't remember the last time I listened to their like what was it? Their first album was a self-titled one, and then they had the one with the song that we played, "Animal I Become," I think.
Yeah. We played Home
And
too, though, didn't we?
and we played Home. Yeah, we
Yeah.
played Home. And then after that, I can't remember any other albums. But
Yeah, because remember we play Home and Eric would be the backup guitar, and all it was one note. It was like the D, do, and he was just like, no, he had to steal the show. He's like, I was like, fuck off, Eric. Like, this is our band. The Mandarins are next.
I remember playing that in your basement. Well, I remember rehearsing in your basement a bunch, and then playing it at a party or something. I think your birthday or
It was
something
your
at
birthday. Yeah, it
was it
was
my
your birthday.
birthday?
Yeah, because I remember we
Yeah.
had a birthday party for you. I think at my house. I'm pretty sure it was your birthday. I want
Oh,
to say.
yeah, it might have been. My birthday's pretty convenient because of like the end of April. A lot of
Yeah,
people like to get together for it. So yeah, maybe that was it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We didn't get into any trouble in those weekends. Uh,
No, no. And we certainly weren't underage, right?
yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, we got in trouble for those. But yeah, so we're gonna learn drums. I just think it'd be cool that like say 2 years from now, I do a drum lesson a week or every 2 weeks or whatever. And you guys have no clue, and I just send you and Eric a video of me just like banging on the drums, and it actually is not just me smashing cymbals and toms and stuff. I think
Yeah.
it's more just the joke I want. It's just
Just the long con for the joke.
the
Yeah.
long con. Yeah. Uh,
Um, well, I mean, the first thing is rhythm. So as long as you like, if you think you have a good sense of rhythm, which you do from playing guitar, you start with that, and then yeah, I don't know, like with fills and with like rudiments and stuff on the snare drum. I've never really studied those intensely. So
yeah.
that's the thing that's the hardest is getting like the hands. If you get the hands and feet together, just doing a rhythm, you're good.
See, I actually think it would be easier for me now to learn the drums than the guitar because of boxing. Because boxing, you always have to move your feet, you have to move your hands, you have to do them differently. Like, and you're thinking with your hands and you're like, and you're doing different things with your hands. So I'm wondering if that's a skill that can correlate, like can translate, like boxing and drumming, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Maybe because there is rhythm involved in boxing, which is very
Yeah.
surprising. My boxing coach, I was doing boxing private lessons about a year ago, and he told me I had no rhythm whatsoever because I had to do this like tempo drill on the bag, moving my feet.
Right.
It wasn't pretty. But for me, like it was the same thing when I was trying to learn the guitar. If I tried to do something on the spot, I couldn't do it. And then the next day I could do it. And like it's just like my brain needed to sit for a day or so. Like if I
Right.
tried to learn a song on the guitar, I would play it, it would sound awful, and then the next day I'd come back and I could play it so much smoother, which is weird.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's cool. I wonder if boxing would improve your drumming or drumming would improve your boxing, or whether they're completely different.
well, now you just giving me a horrible idea. So now I'm gonna start drum lessons now just to tell Sam, like, well, it's gonna be good for my boxing.
It's gonna improve. There
Yeah.
you go.
No.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
start with. I wonder if like drumming on like a what are they called?
practice
Like
pads.
a bongo or something.
Oh yeah.
Actual hands, right? Could improve your boxing
Yeah.
as opposed to sticks.
Oh, that's a good
I'm
idea.
just making
You
that up.
never know. You never know. There's always like weird things that people do that like, especially in boxing, that improve their boxing. Like, there's like Lomachenko. He's probably the best boxer in the world right now, pound for pound. And he does like his dad makes him do these like math equations on whiteboards, and like he put a tennis ball on a ball and would punch it, like just silly things like that. They make him do weird exercises, especially with his mind, and it helps him in box. Apparently, it helps him in boxing. Um, he's pretty good at boxing, so maybe it does work. But you never know. Maybe I find the trick that playing bongos makes you a better boxer.
You never know until you try.
Yeah.
Who knows? Cool.
So 30, it's kind of scary to think that we're going to be 30. Well, you're 30, but
I'm 30, and I'm already like the week after turning 30, I went out drinking, and I felt it for the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hit me like, and it's probably convenient timing. Like I'm probably just making that up, but like literally the weekend after I turned 30, I just started noticing my hangovers a lot more.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a mental thing, but
it could 100% be. Yeah. I don't get a lot of hangovers. Like the day after your birthday party, I was like kind of like a little like, oh, this kind of sucks. Is this a hangover, Sam? And then I just like had an energy drink and I went to the gym, so it was fine. But like I remember before, I would get up and I would run like in the next morning and like sweat it all out. I can't do that anymore. Like if I got really drunk, I was pretty drunk at your birthday, but not like obliterated. But probably the worst thing is those craft beers, those hipster beers.
Yeah.
Full of preservatives.
High alcohol content too.
Yeah, so they dehydrate you and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was drinking a weird beer last weekend. I was at Sideshow's Baby Sprinkle, which is like a shower, but for the second kid. And they had this, like, you open up the cooler and it's all like silver non-labeled cans. And apparently there's like a brewery just outside of Kingston that gives Sideshow all the defected cans.
Oh.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah, I don't.
That.
It's not good. So it's like cans that like the alcohol wasn't mixed right, or the can's half full, or it's dented. Sideshow says like even sometimes he opens it and it's just beer water. So yeah, so I got one and it was like a craft beer, and it was a tall boy can, but it was only like 70% full. It was I never in my life, like probably since I was like 15 years old, not been able to finish a beer, and I poured this thing down the drain like after a couple sips.
Oh, man.
It was just atrocious.
It's like a choose your own adventure beer.
Yeah,
like
it was dangerous.
I'm just imagining all of those like silver cans, and you don't know what's actually going to be defective. Is it going to taste bad, or is it just not going to be full enough?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be flat? Who knows?
Well, like when I picked up that can, I was like, there's not, this isn't full of beer. Like you could feel it squashing around, right? Which you can't usually hear in a beer. I opened, yeah, it was not good. It was like a pineapple 2 pear. Yeah. I'm not a craft beer dude. Yeah.
Right. I like it. I mean, comes with the territory being in Toronto, I guess. Toronto hipster drinking craft beer. But Leslie and I like to go to breweries, and there's tons in Ontario, and they're all craft, right? So, you go to a brewery, you try a couple of things, and, typically the crazy weird ones are, still too weird for me.
Yeah.
But, I'm getting into stouts now.
Oh.
So stouts are like they're the dark ones, but they're actually pretty easy drinking.
Yeah. Which is like a Guinness. Is that a stout or?
I think so. Yeah, it's a special type of stout.
Because like you look at it, you're like, oh, that's gonna be way too dark to drink, and then you're like, oh, this isn't bad actually. Like, where like the IPAs, man, those are hard to drink. Like those optical illusion drink.
And a lot of them are way too hoppy.
Yeah, those aren't for me.
Yeah.
I like a little bit of the fruity beers, but I've been trying to go back out to Perth and get that maple syrup beer that we had at the wedding, my wedding.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember if it was good or not, but I remember there was maple syrup in it, and I'm like, that's what I want in my life.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good. Again, your wedding's a little bit hazy, but
there was Jello shots, I believe, and I think I don't even remember. I remember Tyler being a complete asshole.
What else is new?
Yeah.
And after I did my speech, I was so nervous for that I think from that point onward I was just going full tilt. So
I always bring this up to you because you always talk about how you don't like doing speeches, you're not good at speeches, but you were like the best public speaker in high school and elementary school. and now you're going to be doing your sister's wedding, which is no pressure at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
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 That
That
you
one's
can
gonna
that
be.
that you can be nervous about because that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna cry for sure. Like, there's no point in even. So I'm probably gonna have to write in my notes like, okay, this is when you'll cry.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I haven't talked to her about like what specifically she wants, but
Yeah.
I've got some ideas. I kind of want to make it a little bit like sideshows for yours.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm nowhere near sideshows level of speaker. So somewhere, that's a little traditional, but got some jokes in it.
Well, like like I don't think it has anything. What made sideshows so great was not the fact that he can speak. Like you can speak. It's just the fact that he connected it to us. Like he made it.
Yeah.
That was for us and nobody else, right? So I know you'll do that with Julia. You'll have jokes in there, that you two know from being kids, right? Like in your parents' basement or whatever.
Yeah.
And and then you know Andrew and stuff like that. So I'm sure you can make jokes
Mhm.
but I'm excited for it. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And it'll be good to have you there too. I mean, I know you'll have a job to do as well,
Yeah,
but
I guess so. Eh?
well,
Forgot. Yeah. Yeah, no stress
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be fun.
And like what Julia, it's kind of cool that we've all kind of a part of each other's weddings. Because we wanted Julia to sing our first dance, but then it was just like the logistics of things were a little complicated, which I think kind of worked out for the best that she didn't do it for us because then she got to do it for you guys, and that made it even more special. Like because there was some overlap with our guests, right? So if Julia saw it, like if people saw it at our wedding, right, and then they're like they see it at your wedding, like you know what I'm saying, like it might have lost a little of its essence where
Yep.
at your
Maybe.
wedding it was just incredible and she's pretty good singing. I don't know if she knows this uh
Yeah, she's all right.
so like she had a part in your wedding obviously other than being a groomsman and stuff, and you got a part in her wedding, and yeah, so it's gonna be a good time. Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
party. I might put the DJ kit on auto drive for a little bit. Like
I don't think anybody will mind.
yeah,
Again, like you said, it's all the same songs, right? As long as you got your playlist of Uptown Funk and
yeah,
um, well, actually, I heard on an earlier podcast you were talking about how complicated it is with like Michael Jackson
yes,
and R. Kelly and stuff now.
I
I
played
don't know
Michael
if
Jackson
anybody at
last
our
night.
wedding is going to have a problem with that, but
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think so. But you never know.
Yeah, it's really Julia's call, right? Like if she like even like so last night I played Michael Jackson because like they gave me a request sheet, it said Billie Jean on it, and I went up to them and I told them I was like, hey, like I've been yelled at for playing Michael Jackson. Like, how do you guys feel? And she's just like, the people here will be probably pretty cool. And then someone came up and it's like, hey, you haven't played Michael Jackson yet. Like, and this was at like 11 o'clock. And I was like, yeah, okay. It's weird though that like Michael Jackson's so good that we're like, it's okay. He has demons.
Yeah, I mean, I can the thing I say or that I try to think about is like Billie Jean is still like an out of this world song.
Yeah.
Like if Michael Jackson was just an okay artist who made music, like Chris Brown, right? Like Chris Brown, you
People
can
love
kind
Chris Brown now. Like,
of people love him, but like I don't think in 30 years Chris Brown's going to have the effect that Michael Jackson did.
no, you're
So
100% right. Yeah.
like Billie Jean and Thriller and that type of stuff is pretty iconic. But I I don't know. I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
maybe like watching a music video is different than hearing the song, on a dance floor. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a weird topic because like I also was saying like if I was to play songs from someone that didn't have a felony on them, it might be a short list. Like if you think everyone's been in trouble for something, right? Like
all the artists of the 70s, yeah, a
yeah,
lot of them.
like they've all been arrested for something, or like yes, Michael Jackson's and R. Kelly's a little steep, but also the fact that people are having offense to it now when this shit was Michael Jackson been dead for 10 years and he was already proven innocent in court. Now this HBO documentary comes out and you're upset. And same with R. Kelly. Fucking Dave Chappelle wrote a song about it 10 years ago.
10 years ago, more, I think, probably like
Yeah.
15 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And like people still like OJ Simpson. Like
That one might be a little different. I think that guy is pretty pretty widely considered guilty. But hey,
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's touche. Yeah. Well, I think R. Kelly's guilty as well, right? But
yeah, he no doubt is. Yeah.
yeah, I probably will play Billie Jean at your sister's wedding. I actually prefer playing Thriller because people know Billie Jean. They're like, that's cool. But then when a DJ puts on Thriller, it's gonna be
It's
close
got
to
a great
Halloween too.
intro.
Yeah, it kind of
Oh
gets
yeah.
people going a bit more.
Mhm.
But that's enough wedding and 30-year-old talk because that's not the least bit depressing. Hockey, we're in the semi.
Hockey.
Game ones are
Hockey.
done. Game two tonight
Yep.
for Carolina and Boston. So the playoffs. We've been obviously talking a lot in the group chat, or I've been talking in the group chat. This has been by far the craziest NHL playoffs of all time. First
Yep.
time ever that the first 4 seeds get eliminated. First time ever that the 2 conference champions get eliminated. And the first time ever the President's Trophy winners get swept.
Yeah, it was nuts.
And
Oh,
oh,
sorry.
no, go what you're saying. I was gonna say it's all my fault that Tampa Bay got swept because Alex was like, playoffs are different, and I was like, fuck off, Alex. they had 128 points this season. I think they'll be just fine after game 1.
Well, yeah, and I remember that Alex sent that message, and I was like, and we were both like, "Yo, chill, Al. You don't know what you're talking about. They just lost game 1. They'll be fine."
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was gonna say I helped a buddy of mine at work fill out a playoff like fantasy draft, where like you draft players, based on who's gonna go far, and most points at the end of the playoffs wins. And so there's 2 strategies. You either load up on the teams that you think are going to go far because they're going to get you more points, or you just pick like the top scorers from each team.
Yeah.
So I told him, I was like, okay, here's what you do. You load up on Tampa Bay, you load up on Calgary, get nobody else. Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to meet in the finals, and you're going to kill it. So just make sure you load up on both those teams.
Yeah.
And then like a week later, he comes over to me, and he's like, yeah, you screwed me, man. You screwed me.
Yeah.
And he didn't know anything about hockey. He was like, what's my strategy here? And I told him.
Yeah, and you kind of got to tell him, like, dude, this is the craziest playoffs ever. Like, it's aside from now, it's starting to look a little bit like now, like, because I think San Jose and Boston are going to be the 2 teams in the finals. Like, that sounds normal, right? Like,
yeah.
Oh, Boston for San Jose, like, okay, like that makes sense. Or it could be Carolina and or St. Louis Blues in the finals. And you're like, huh? Like, how did this happen? Like, both teams, St. Louis wasn't even in the playoffs last year, right?
Yeah.
And Carolina hasn't been in the playoffs in 10 years. So since they got swept to the Penguins. So crazy. Yeah. But they're both down 0-1 in the series. But do you like Jordan Binnington?
I do. Yeah. I don't know too much about him. When the Calder nominees came out for the Rookie of the Year, it showed like the 3 nominees and then their stats. And I hadn't followed the Blues too closely.
Yeah.
But when I saw Binnington's stats, I was like, holy crap. He's like, in the regular season, he was something like 24-4 or something like that.
Yeah. Because he came in about halfway through the season. Yeah. He started really playing because they had Jake Allen and like another good goaltender. I forget his name. But yeah.
I can't remember.
Or no, who they have last year? They had a Carter Hutton and Jake Allen last year.
Oh, yeah.
So this year, I think they started with Allen and Binnington because Hutton went to Buffalo.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, he did.
So he's been playing great. What I loved was because they won Game 7 double overtime, they score. They show a camera of him in his ice, and he just skates out like it's a normal game. Like he didn't even like celebrate like it was an overtime win. Now he's going to the conference final. He's like, cool. Like,
yeah.
What? Like you should be freaking out. Like everyone's throwing their gloves. Like, but I kind of hope Boston gets eliminated because then we've got, or I was just about to say, then we've got a team winning the Stanley Cup for the first time ever, but Carolina's won it. But I kind of hope San Jose takes it because I'd love to see Thornton win the Cup. Now you might not want to see San Jose win because of Carlson, but
you know what? I knew you were going to ask me about this, and actually, over the course of the playoffs, it's kind of like the wound has kind of healed a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so I think at this point it'd be really nice to see him lift the cup. I think I'd be happy for him. I'd still be a tiny bit bitter.
Yeah.
But like the first round, when it was conveniently, it was Mark Stone versus Erik Karlsson. I hated every second of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like loving Stone, and I've hated him for so long.
Stone, I told you Stone is worth every penny, and you were like, no, he's overrated. I don't even know what he
$8
does.
million a year. You could have kept Carl. Yeah. No, he played really good.
He's the real deal.
Yeah.
But I'd be happy for Carlson. The weird thing about this playoff for an Ottawa perspective is that every team had an Ottawa superstar on it. So it's kind of overwhelming in the first round. You got Columbus had all the former guys like Matt Duchene and
Foligno. Yeah. Well, I guess Foligno has been a while, but yeah.
Still, yeah. And then who else? Then you had San Jose, Vegas. People forget that Robin Leonard used to be a San, right?
And Bishop. Yeah.
And Bishop. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like the first couple of weeks, I was like, holy crap, I was either really happy for them or I was really just sad they weren't on my team. I was like going back and forth between the two. So
it's got to be so frustrating to be a fan of it. Like, I'm like the worst sports fan ever because like in football, like I followed Randy Moss for a bit, and then I'm kind of just stuck.
I can definitively say.
And like the Patriots just won. You know, they're always in contention. And then hockey, you know, like I followed Marc-Andre Fleury around, and when he was on Pittsburgh, it was good. But then like, you know, like a lot of people were like, "Oh, you like Pittsburgh because it's Sidney Crosby." I was like, "No, fuck that guy. I like Marc-Andre Fleury," and you just happened to, you know, do well. And then he goes to Vegas and he still does well, right? So, and I was prepared for a couple shitty seasons. I was. You know, he keeps finishing top 5 in the Vezina voting, which sucks, but because top 3 you get to go to the award show. This is gonna suck because it's the first Stanley Cup Finals in 3 years that he's not a part of. Yeah.
Oh, so sad for you.
Yeah, I know. It is sad. Last year's was hard to watch, though. Oh boy, because not only did Marc-Andre Fleury lose in the Stanley Cup Finals, but Ovechkin raised the cup, which is just like, you know me, I hated every minute of that.
Yeah. Well, you still the interesting thing is that you follow the players around, but then you still have those rivalry teams that you hate all the time.
Yeah,
it's almost more fun to hate a team than to like a team too.
Yeah, it is.
When you hate Ovechkin.
Yeah, and I used to hate the Sens too, growing up in Kingston, but now like being in Ottawa, like I kind of just feel bad for them. But I was saying to you, like, I don't know how you're sticking through this and how you haven't jumped ship yet. Like, I know it's tough being in Toronto and seeing Tavares and Matthews. You can't jump ship to Toronto because then that's a cardinal sin. But what I was thinking was like when the Senators actually get a team again, which could be like, you know, the way hockey works, it could be 2-3 years, and then look at Carolina, right? Like, it doesn't take long. And say that, like, you know, maybe it's 20 years, they finally win the cup. It's going to feel really good.
It's going to feel great. I hope so. I hope it does.
Because, like, the Patriots winning the Super Bowl for the 6th time in, what, 18 years?
Or less than that, I think.
You're like, cool. Yeah. That was fun. That was a shitty game, but whatever. That's cool. And then, you know, but, like, your team winning for the first time. Like, the first time Marc-Andre Fleury won that Stanley Cup, like, when we were in Alex's basement, like, you know, I had like we weren't even watching hockey. Like we were still young, like 19. So we hadn't had, you know, years and years of not watching teams win cups. It was still a pretty good feeling. So hang in there, bud.
Yeah. Well, I plan to. The thing that keeps me going is that, like, yes, I'm in Toronto, and you know, all the Leafs fans around me here have waited longer. Yes. So I mean, at the end of the day, like, we've had a bad couple of years, but I would never jump ship. Like, and actually part of the thing about being in Toronto is that there's so many other teams to follow too. So you know, like, I'm still a Toronto sports fan in terms of I love the Blue Jays, I love the Raptors.
Yeah.
Even TFC is exciting. So I can, like, when I have conversations with people in the lunchroom at work, I'm like I'm still. They're like, oh, you don't like any Toronto teams. I'm like, no, I'm 3 out of the 4. It's just, you know,
I don't like the Leafs. Yeah.
The one that everybody really loves, I can't stand.
Yeah.
But it comes with the territory. Like, and part of it is I was talking to a Leafs fan a couple of weeks ago when they got eliminated, and they're like, oh, Boston is our, like, boogeyman. We can't get by them. You know, what if we face Boston every single year and we lose every single year? Like, it's just a wasted opportunity.
Yeah.
And then I said, yeah, that's how I felt in the early 2000s against the Leafs.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
It's 100, yeah. That one
4 out
game
of 5
seven
years.
where Leonard, or not Leonard, Patrick Louim led in like 5 goals in the first period. You're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, we would consistently beat them in the regular season, and we would put up a good fight in the playoffs. Like all the time, we would go to Game 7, and then for whatever reason, Game 7 we would just collapse. And
Yeah.
the Leafs fans are feeling the same thing. It's probably a mental thing as much as it is um,
Yeah.
like an actual gameplay thing. It's just when you get to that game, you're like, this is it. It's going to be different,
Yeah.
and it's not different. So
I think I've said it before, but I call it the Tuukka Rask curse, because it's just, to me, it's just a mind-boggling trade to trade Tuukka Rask, who got the World Junior goaltender of the tournament, for Andrew Raycroft, who had one good season. Like he got the Calder, I believe, Andrew Raycroft, but
mm-hmm.
excuse me, like the
Actually,
Calder. So like I guess like at the time maybe the Leafs were pushing for a team because they were just losing out Belfour. They still had some pieces. They were obviously paying Darcy Tucker for another 10 years. So like, we might as well make it count. Let's get this young goalie. But I don't even think he was that young, because, he's not playing anymore. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I know goalies are tricky, and I see it with the Sens. Like, I believe they drafted Bishop. They got rid of Bishop. They drafted Leonard. They got rid of Leonard. Both these goalies have had amazing seasons. Both of them are nominated for Vezina. The
mm-hmm.
third goalie nominated for Vezina is Vasilini, and he was dealt from.
Vasilevsky,
What I say? What's Vasilini?
Vasilini. I don't know.
Vasilevsky.
That it sounds like a mix between Vaseline and like tortellini.
Yeah,
Vaseline.
I had a mini shrink
You know
there.
what? Just go with it.
I just call him Vassy, in the chat. It's easier to spell. I'm sure the boys in the locker room call him that. But he got drafted to Detroit and got traded, Like, so goalies are hard. Like, look at Peter Mrazek from Carolina. Again, another goalie that was drafted to a different team and then dealt. So you never know when a goalie is going to find their stride. But sometimes you also just have to hold on to a guy too, right? Like, because you don't know, goalies take longer to develop and stuff. But
yeah, well, with Leonard, it was kind of like that, where the Sens held on to him for a few years, and Leonard was always the goalie of the future. So
yeah,
like, we're not even going to play Leonard. We're just going to keep him in the minors because he's our goalie of the future. And with Leonard, there was some mental health things he had to go through, and I think he wrote a cool article about it last year, where he talked about some of the struggles he had, and then I guess since going to New York, he got some help, or he was able to turn it around.
yeah.
So who knows if he would have even panned out in Ottawa? They might have still kept him,
And it
and
just never would have worked. Yeah.
never would have worked. I don't know. It's tough.
It's one of those woulda, shoulda, coulda scenarios, right? But it's always weird to know, like especially in the Leafs case, because it's like, this guy was yours, and you traded him to Boston for a player that hasn't played in the NHL in 7 years, and this guy keeps eliminating you every time you're in the playoffs. Like, it's got to be hard. And like, again, I'm not a GM. I wasn't Brian Burke when he made that trade. Like, I can imagine that, like, if it was Burke, whoever it was, they had Pogge, right? So like, oh, Pogge's our future. Again, whereas, so I guess it's hard to scout with goaltenders because you never know, but it's just frustrating. Like, it's especially, yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna say, like, goalies. I don't know the first thing. Like, I know you follow goalies all around the league. You know all the stats, and yeah, I feel like a lot of people, and even GMs probably, that might be part of the problem. Is that goalies are so specialized that like you have a goalie coach. You almost need like a goalie, not a goalie GM, but like somebody to advise the GM on specifically goalie stuff, because it's just so different than all the other positions on the ice, right?
Yeah. And I imagine there's something in those lines. And I think goalie coaches, like, it's tough to, like, it must be hard to listen to a goalie coach when, most of the time they're not as accomplished as you are. They probably grew up not playing a butterfly style or, I guess every place is different. Like, the goalie coach for Carolina is, what was Eddie, Urbe?
Eddie Lack?
No.
Oh, Arturs Urbe.
Arturs Urbe, or he was, right? Like, so it's hard to get like lesson from him, right? Like think about Cujo getting hired for the Leafs. Like, it's like, oh, okay, like, you're an amazing goalie, like, you're top 10 wins all time, but like what do you know about like reverse VH or, like I guess positioning still translates and like, they're professionals and they adapt to the game, but I don't know. I see it as a little tricky. And I know some guys don't get along with goalie coaches. You got to find one that you get along with. I kind of saw
Yeah.
that with Malcolm Subban. So when I was doing training camps with Belleville, like I was just doing like their like summer camps, there's two goalies there, Malcolm Subban and Murph, right? But Malcolm Subban, who plays for Vegas now, and Tyson Teachman. And Teachman was the guy, like Subban, they didn't think he was going to get drafted in the NHL. They definitely didn't think he was going to be their starting goalie. They definitely didn't think he was going to go to the World Juniors. Teachman was the under 16 goaltender for Canada. Like this guy was the future. He did not get along with the goalie coach there. He did not like him whatsoever. And he struggled in Belleville and ended up going to a different team. And like, he had a lot of attitude, ended up finishing his career, not even in the OHL, finished it in junior and like probably went to college or whatever. Where Malcolm Subban, he listened, ended up, having a connection with his goalie coach, and maybe because his older brother was part of the team as well. And, his, brother said good things, or he saw how Murph was with this coach. He listened and he ended up playing in the World Juniors, going in the top 10 or top 15 in the NHL draft and playing for Boston and now Vegas. So,
yeah. I guess, yeah, it's and the route, like you said, the route somebody takes is just completely like there's a lot of development.
mm-hmm.
So, you see like a lot of defensemen or centers coming into the league at 18, like straight from junior. But there's so many different like steps to take when you're, well, I guess it just depends. Everybody's situation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not an expert, so who knows?
No, neither of us are, but we can like to talk about it, right?
That's true.
We can pretend to be experts. Isn't that how you get to be an expert? Is you just pretend to be an expert for a while until someone starts paying you?
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. That's what I do at work. So.
Yeah. So I know you work. I know you work on. I think we're getting close to. Yeah, we're about an hour now. We'll keep going for a little bit, but
sure.
We can talk about your work a little bit. Like obviously, if you got any things you're not allowed to talk about, but you work for a TV station.
Yep.
In Hamilton, and you do like website stuff, right? I don't know. It's kind of confusing what you do.
Well, so a little bit, but so I'm the marketing lead. Like my title is in marketing, but I'm pretty much the lead or the manager of all marketing initiatives at this company. So the company is called Channel Zero, and we have several TV stations. So the one that you're talking about is CHCH in Hamilton.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
And so it's an Ontario station. Yeah, and it's the bigger one that we have. And it's an Ontario station that like you can get it in Ottawa, you can get it in Kingston. We have like local news for the Hamilton and St. Catharines region.
Yeah.
So like, when you tune into the news, even though you can get it in Ottawa, it's more local. But so I don't work in Hamilton, but I work in Toronto for the Hamilton station. There's like 2 offices.
Yeah.
And so long story short, like I lead marketing initiatives on air, online, and like through all media, basically. So I create and I direct and I produce all the stuff that goes on the station, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
But I don't have like a lot of technical skills, so I'm more like the idea guy.
Yeah, that's cool.
So,
that's a pretty good idea. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's a very small company though, so I've been there for 5 years. It's been fun, but eventually I'd like to kind of expand and work for somewhere a little bit bigger. But
yeah,
right now it's got a lot of freedom to it. So
yeah, because that was gonna be my next question. Like, do you ever want to expand and go to like a major thing like Chorus or I actually have a couple connections in Chorus in Toronto. I know the social media girl who's in charge of all the stations in Ontario there. She's crazy. She's pretty. She's like that hot crazy scale. Yeah, so I was gonna say, like, do you ever like have an interest to go to a station like Chorus or Rogers or Bell that do that stuff? But like, is the station mainly news and like local kind of television sort of style stuff, or like would you ever like to get involved with like major television shows or major film stuff? Like, I know it'd be a little bit different of a field But your skills are always transferable, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah. So when I first moved to Toronto, I really wanted to get into film and like be on a movie set and work in movies.
yeah,
And I did that for a little while, and it was fun. But for movies, it's well, unless you're working on like Avengers Endgame or something,
yeah,
like a movie typically like it's produced and then it goes into post production and then you market it for I don't know a month or a couple months, and then it's out in the world and that's it.
yeah.
Then it's on to the next thing. In TV, I've found so far that it's pretty consistent. So like the TV schedule always keeps going. So
Mhm.
there's always for our local news, there's always new stuff. But like we have one of the shows we have on is Empire.
Oh yeah,
So like
yeah,
we actually have a pretty decent show, although like it was pretty controversial this year.
yeah. Which I guess like it's just going like they're just like we're just gonna pretend nothing happened, like because of like Michelle
Yeah,
Obama just like stepped in, I guess, or something. I don't know. I heard he was pardoned.
uh, Michelle Obama.
Yeah,
What?
she had something to do with it. Yeah, he got pardoned and
Oh,
like because
oh,
of
the actual guy.
Jesse
Oh,
Smollett. Yeah, Jesse
right, right,
Smollett.
right.
That was the
Yeah,
controversy you're talking about, right?
that was. Yeah, I actually, it's funny. I know the controversy kind of more in terms of the show because
Yeah,
I know that they booted him off the show for a few weeks, and then it was like this whole thing: was he innocent? Was he not?
yeah.
And then so they wrote him out of some episodes, but he's still, I think, on the show's cast. Like, so I don't know if they're going to bring him back at some point or whether they literally just plan on killing him. I don't know. But they just wrote him out of the storyline for now,
Yeah.
and they might bring him back. Oh yeah, but what I was saying was that Empire is a show that kind of keeps going. It follows the storyline, so there's
Yeah.
always stuff happening every week throughout the year.
Yeah.
Um, so I work on like doing promos and advertisements for those shows as well,
Mhm.
and so it's kind of fun, creative work. And um, the big guys like Bell and Rogers and Chorus. Uh, the irony is that it's a huge company, but because there's so many people, you kind of get pigeonholed into doing less stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
So right
Yeah.
now I'm the guy, quote unquote,
Or
for a
stuff
lot
for
of
less
things.
money. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm the guy for a lot of things because we have a very small staff. But
Yeah.
over there, if I go there, you know, I might have the same title but do like only one or two things, and I'll be bored.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a trade-off. I mean, I think there's more money to be had over at like Rogers, but also they, as you know, like every
There's
once
less
in a while,
security though. Yeah.
they just announce they cut like 500 jobs and don't think anything of it.
Yeah. There's a bubble where that's gonna hit, and it's just gonna end. Either in general, radio is gonna die, like or radio, or I say radio because I know more about it, but like eventually, companies that are buying up things like this, they're gonna keep taking over things and keep cutting things, and eventually, there's gonna be something that's gonna burst, right? Like people are gonna stop watching. They're going to lose more money, and they're going to keep cutting people. And like now in Ottawa, they just fired the morning show from Ottawa, from Shay. Oh, sorry, we don't actually know what's happened yet, but the rumor is that they fired the morning show from Shay, and apparently there's a morning show from Toronto taking over. But then people are like, okay, well, then people in Toronto are like, are they leaving or are they syndicating? Like, so now it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, are we losing our Toronto morning show and they're going to Ottawa and then we're getting a new Toronto morning show, or is Ottawa losing a morning show and it's going to be syndicated, which happened with the radio station I was working at, right? Like Jump.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So like and it's kind of weird. So I didn't get offered a position, but like me and Sideshow were talking about a position in Kingston, and I kind of turned it down because I was doing stuff here and Sam was working. Or I didn't turn it down, but I was just like, hey, I have a friend that's going to apply. I think she'd be a great fit for it. Like, don't worry about me, sort of thing. And she broadcasts from Kingston here in Ottawa. So it's like I could have been back
Okay.
on the radio in Ottawa, but I had to go to Kingston. So you never know.
Right.
But that's the way radio is going. Is more and more people are just doing stuff from certain stations. Like Kingston actually broadcasts for a lot of stations, and same with morning shows, right? So I know that
Mm-hmm.
was a little off topic, but you were saying the scary part about going to a major corporation like that is less and less work. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but
Well, I
there's
mean,
good money, like, yeah, better
yeah,
money.
and and it makes sense, like, with well, we're doing a remote podcast right now, right? But with remote work, like you can, and in media, you can work in a certain office and work for somewhere else in a different city, right? So yeah, I mean, I work in Toronto for a station in Hamilton, so it's kind of like almost the same thing a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah.
I know we wanted to talk about so much stuff today, and we kind of gotten so off track and stuff, but at least we both know that we want to try to get back to drumming. Quickly before we wrap it up,
Sure.
because I need to take a nap. I'm
Yeah,
getting
no
tired.
kidding.
And I got to get up at 5 tomorrow. Take Sam to the airport. Just going to LA for the week or just a few
Oh,
days.
cool. Right on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think we talked about that for work, right? For a work opportunity, like a conference.
Yeah, it's technically it's just like she's going for a conference to help build her brand and stuff like that, which like is all her, right? Like she's built her whole job is building her brand up, and then she helps build other people's brands up. So it's a good opportunity and blah blah blah. But June 15th, I'm coming down to your place. We're going to see Alexis on Fire. We used to
Yeah.
do a thing where every summer we would go to a show, and it's kind of trailed off a little bit. We didn't see a show last year, did we?
I don't think so. I
No.
don't think so. I wonder why. Eh. We did Metallica. Was that 2 years ago?
That might have been 2 years ago. Yeah.
2 years ago. Yeah. So not since then, I guess.
Yeah, and that one I think was in the fall. And we also did Red Chili. We've been seeing shows. But yeah, this time we're going to see Alexis on Fire. Still loving their new song. Hopefully they got a new album coming out. Is this you're not your first time seeing Alexis, eh?
No, I saw them. I saw them in Ottawa with Billy Talent.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But I wasn't super into them at the time. Like I'd heard of them, but I didn't. For whatever reason, I was kind of there to see Billy Talent.
Yeah.
Looking back, like yeah, I think Alexis is the band that kind of
Yeah.
made. Well, you never know. I don't know. Billy Talent maybe made. They were big in their day.
Yeah. They've kind of fallen off a little bit, Billy Talent, but well, I guess Alexis on Fire went away for a bit too, so they fell off. But the drummer for Alexis on Fire is the drummer for Billy Talent now, because the drummer for Billy Talent got sick. But this is my 7th time seeing Alexis, but this is my first time in about 4 years where they have, or like 7 years since they've released a new song. So I'm excited to see that song live. Like that's gonna be really cool. But
Yeah, cool.
I was thinking like I think for you too, because like you started listening to heavier music the older you get, right? Like because you didn't used to listen to Alexis, and now you're listening to Alexis. For me, I'm starting to listen to like heavier music than I listened to as a kid. Where I think most people start to listen to like softer music. They start to get like a little bit more not crazy racket, but like. So what are you listening to right now? And like is it heavier than what you would normally listen to?
Yeah. So with Spotify,
Yeah.
I've found a ton of stuff that I would never have found otherwise.
Yeah.
And for a couple of years, I think when I first moved to Toronto, like I've always had like a love for like the Justin Timberlakes and
Yeah.
Bruno
Yeah.
Mars and stuff. So for a few years, I was kind of going back to softer music, and so Leslie and I were going to a bunch of shows. But now, yeah, I seem to be going with Spotify, like finding heavier stuff, and then the more heavy stuff that you listen to, the more heavy stuff it recommends. So it's just a cycle.
It cycles, yeah.
So I'm listening to I Prevail.
Okay, yeah. Their new album's pretty good, yeah.
Their new album.
Got a good mix of stuff too, right? So
Yeah. And like so I typically I'll find like one song that's recommended, and then I'll search out others. But sometimes I'll just be like, I listen to this one song only. So like their latest, whatever their latest single is, I Prevail.
They got a couple. They got Bow Down. That's the one.
Bow Down.
Yeah.
Bow Down is pretty heavy. I like that.
Yeah. I like that one too.
I think you got me into While She Sleeps.
Yeah, I love them. Yeah. Love them. Their new album was a little bit of a letdown because they released like 5 singles from the album, and those usually their albums are great front to back. So many gems on it. Well, this one it was like those 4. I think it was maybe 4 songs. 4 songs they released were incredible, and then everything else on the album was just kind of flat, kind of sucked. But I guess that happens.
And then what else? If I could pick another one. I don't know. Oh, Parkway Drive. I know Parkway Drive's been around forever.
Yeah.
But, or maybe not forever, but I kind of just ran into them like this year.
Yeah. It's
so
funny.
I'm kind of listening to their older stuff.
Oh, you are? Okay. Because you were saying like I remember you you listened to their new album and you really liked it. But see, like for me, it's like a lot of these bands I've listened to for so long, and their new stuff I'm not quite enjoying. Like
Oh,
Memphis
yeah.
Mayfire's new album, I despise. Bringing the Horizons album, I didn't even listen to.
Okay,
Right?
I was gonna bring up Bring Me the Horizon too, by the
Like
way.
I couldn't I heard a couple songs and I listened to another snippet of another song. I was like, this isn't the band that I fell in love with, right? Like going back and listening to their first album and this album, like they're two different bands, right? Kind of like what Linkin Park did, sort of thing. Um, but yeah, so like it's same with Parkway. Like you're listening to their newest album, but like I like their older stuff. Actually, some lady came up to me last night and she was like, "Do you have any Parkway Drive?" And I was like, "No, sweetie, I don't, but I love it. Like if I can
Yeah,
play
yeah, I
some,
wish you did. Yeah.
yeah." But so you're
Um,
listening to their old stuff, like the Horizons album is one of my favorite albums for sure.
yeah. Can't remember what the album is. I can look it up. But yeah, I like. I'm getting into their older stuff because again, like you hear one song and then I'm never sure whether it's an old song or a new song because it's just
Yeah,
like in the random rotation, right?
yeah,
So then I go look up what album that's from and then figure it out from there. But I think it's one of the older albums that I like. And then Bring Me the Horizon, I actually do like their new album.
yeah.
I don't
I
like
don't get.
every song,
Yeah,
but they're like poppy songs with breakdowns. I'm okay with that. The really poppy ones with just weird atmospheric stuff that don't
yeah.
really go anywhere. There's a couple of those that I don't like,
It's
but
such a
I like the
like
single.
it's yeah, it's a weird like it's one of the weirdest transitions in a band for sure. Like I always thought Linkin Park was the weirdest, but now like I hear Bring the Rise, I'm just like I've never heard of a band. Like usually bands do like that slow progression. They definitely did like a slow progression, but there's just they've lost that like element that what they were, right? And like Parkway, like the last two albums, like one was still a Parkway Drive album, but it was kind of slower than their newest one. It's like a hard rock Parkway Drive album, right? So definitely they're going into that, but it's still you listen to it, you're like, that's Parkway Drive. Like if I showed you the two Bring Me Horizon, not even like their first album, like say the third album to this,
Mm,
you're like, what is this? And I remember that Sempiternal album when that
mm,
came out, I hated that album. And now I go back and listen to it and I love it. But it's like I kind of hated it because I knew that they were heading in this direction.
right.
And but like this still had like that element that they were pretty good. But yeah.
Yeah,
You said you like
it's
Fit for a
definitely.
King. Oh, you were gonna say?
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna finish off with Bring Me the Horizon. I was just gonna say, yeah, I could definitely tell listening to Bring Me the Horizon, that new album, that you would hate it,
Yeah.
because I like a little bit of melody with my songs, so I like those melodic ones. But I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, PJ would hate this.
I like
What
I
was the
like
other
it
band?
sometimes, but Fit for a King. So they're
Right.
they're one of my favorite bands right now. They just announced that they're coming back to Ottawa, so I'm pumped for that. But one of my favorite bands I do listen to, it's absolute racket. Like it is just I know some of their songs are absolutely terrible, but I love it. Not Attila. I
Mm.
know Attila's racket, but
I can't do Attila.
that's okay. That's okay. I'm gonna keep trying. It's something about them I just really enjoy. But a band called Eskimo Callboy. So I've been listening to them for 10 years. You probably heard them before, not realized because I always walk out to their songs.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're German party, like so there's like a German metal, but they're in English, but then they
Yeah.
have like dance stuff, and then they have a little bit of singing too. So they just released a new single this week that was like all singing that I didn't really like, but I guess it's like it was for a video game, so it's like they're calling it the Rage 2 edition. So it's like this is just like our mainstream song. Like, don't worry, we'll be heavy later on. But their last album was like really melodic, like a lot of singing and stuff like that, and I absolutely love it. Even though it's not as like it's probably my favorite album from them, but it's the softest album too. So it's weird. I do like the
Yeah.
melodic stuff. It's got to be something to it, like you
Yeah.
know. Like I like Marshmallow. Like I maybe it's the EDM and the singing I like.
Well, that's what Bring Me the Horizon does. You
Yeah,
said you didn't like it.
something about it, man. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get
Well,
it. I don't. I. It's just. It's not for me. Like their last album, I liked a couple of their songs, that Happier song and Doomed and all that. But it just like again, like I thought it got a little boring near the end of the album. I just couldn't. I can't listen to this.
eh,
There's a song called
whatever. I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
and
you
it's
know,
not that the songs are bad. It's just that like I have such a love for their three of their
yeah,
albums that it's tough to listen to this. You know, like
yeah.
again, like I
Hey, you like
compared.
what you like.
Yeah, compared to Linkin Park, right? Like the new album you could listen to and you'd be like, oh, this is cool. Like, yeah, the songs are good. Is it Hybrid Theory? Nah. Is it
Uh,
Meteor? Nah. It's not the same, like so.
yeah, not even Reanimation.
No. Did you check that? Does that sound decent on your vinyl if you checked it out yet?
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds cool.
I
I
never
put it
know.
on the other day.
I never know how metal's gonna sound on vinyl. Like I have an Attila vinyl. I'm like, I don't think this is gonna sound great coming out of
It's
this.
a little weird. It's a little weird to be honest, but it's cool. It's cool. I have it set up to play through like a Bose speaker, or no, I think it's Bose. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bose speaker. So like it sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
I have a really cheap record player, so it came with these two tiny speakers that sounded horrible. But at
Oh.
least I have it hooked up to a decent speaker now. So
Oh, that's good. I have a bunch of vinyl, but I don't have a record player. Just like I like the different colors. You know?
yeah, well, no, that's it's fun like collecting. And I was talking earlier about going to record stores and like browsing through like the physical stacks of records is
Yeah.
pretty fun.
Yeah,
Like
that is fun.
my obviously my dad used to like buy a ton of records. He has a ton in the basement, and yeah, it's just about thumbing through and finding cool stuff, and then you have the big cover art. Yeah,
Yeah. It's funny that you say browsing through records is a lot of fun because that's exactly how I feel with comics. You
right.
go and you're looking at a box of comics. You're like, I'm not gonna buy any of this shit. It's old and it's cheap. Like it's not like important. Each comic's $1, but it's still fun going.
Yeah, because you never know. You might find one thing at the very excuse me at the
Yeah,
very back, right?
yeah.
So
So I get that. I get that feeling 100%. So
sweet.
yeah, sweet. All right, let's wrap it up. Thank you for coming on.
I wanted
Oh,
to say one thing.
yeah.
I just wanted to say because I've been listening. I think I've been listening pretty much to all of. I think I've hit every episode except for the
Number one fan. Thank
one.
you. Except for
But
the
just wanted
Endgame
to
one.
say,
Yeah.
except for the Endgame ones, which I'll probably like listen to later because now I've watched it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've been doing great with this thing. It's super cool to see. You've had a lot of interesting people on that like friends of yours that I've met that like I've learned stuff about. And I think it's also you're telling personal stuff. You're talking about your own life, and I think it's pretty interesting stuff. So it's
Awesome.
been cool to listen to.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the support. Like, cause yeah, like, we have some friends won't be named, Ethan, Alex, and Eric, who probably haven't listened to one episode, but I appreciate so much that you've listened to everyone. Like, and it means a lot. Like, I am getting a like of some people listening, and every time someone tells me, like, it feels great. Like, like I kind of started something and I'm doing something I love. So I appreciate it, and I want to get you back more. And one time I want you in the studio because I will have some real fun.
Definitely.
Like,
Maybe in the summer.
yeah.
Drinking
Yeah.
beers or doing something cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I listen to other podcasts too. And what do you think about sign off? Like, I think PJ and Pals need some sort of like, you've been listening to PJ and Pal, or like,
Like an outro,
like a catchphrase, an outro.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
That's not put a pin in it, but that's put that. What's it called? What's the saying? Let's start brewing up something. We'll think of something.
Ideas?
Yeah, like
All right.
like you're thinking of have a good night, San Diego, or what's it? Stay classy, San Diego.
Stay classy,
Like that,
exactly.
like a catchphrase sign off. Yeah, 100%. Like we'll think of it.
Catchphrase.
I started putting on on my Facebook post, try it out, because a couple of my friends listen to one podcast, and it's like kind of an inside joke on that podcast. So I started to try it out. Like so.
Try it out.
But yeah, we'll definitely think of a catchphrase. I was gonna pay a guy the voice of one of Arthur Morgan from a video game yesterday to do an intro for the podcast. It was like $65. I was like, nah. It's too much.
Get Matt to come up with something. You and him have a vibe. You guys are radio guys. You'll come up with like some sort of like sign off.
Something, yeah. Well, brew it. Send me your ideas. Yeah. We'll brew it up.
I will.
Awesome. Thank you, man. We'll do this again.
All right. Cheers.